Holdaway, Managing Director at Accenture UKI and Ireland. Today I've got the pleasure of hosting Dan Sherwood, who's the Marketing Director at Santander. Thank you for joining me, Dan.
Thanks
Welcome.
for having me.
We have recently conducted a piece of research, the Great Marketing Declutter, and what I thought we'd look at together today is what it is that sets those thrivers apart from the rest, and why do you think business needs thriving leadership today?
I think the difference comes down simply to a mentality about change, an innate optimism about change, a resilience to drive change, and the energy, I guess, to package all of that together. I think the key difference for a thriver is that they're always looking to chase change as opposed to let change chase them. They're always looking for the next opportunity, and they've got a positive sense of change, I think, as opposed to a defensive mindset about change.
Interestingly, looking at our research, one thing that it did unveil, unsurprisingly, was that 50% more of the thrivers, if you compare to the survivors, for example, had already invested well ahead of time in the tech that you need to really thoroughly understand your customers and know how to better engage with them. And I think that's something that you've been spending time on that.
Yeah, I think it's not just about investing in technology for us. It's about just the mentality about your customers. I think one of the things we've done well recently, I think, and Saj Arshad, who's our Chief Customer Marketing Officer, really came and drove this when he arrived in the organization, is getting back to basics to some degree about your customer strategy. And he reminded us to get almost back to basics in understanding who is our customer, which segments are important to us, critically which ones are not. And I think that's an important thing that we've done in terms of decluttering, to use the language from the research, our environment, being much more single-minded about what we're about as an organization, our purpose, to focus is in on the customers that matter. You never really declutter until you focus on fewer things. I think the biggest thing we've tried to change is getting much clearer about our priorities and reducing them down. And I think what we've done well so far is be ruthless with what we will do and what we won't do. But to make that work, we've had to go out into the business and be transparent about what those priorities are.
Have you got any examples of how you might have used technology to try and help you and either declutter and or operate more efficiently going forward?
We've implemented new tools, not too recently, but workflow tools that simplify not only the way that we operate and our processes. More recently is the work one of our sister teams has done around NPS and our measurement of NPS, and really extracting out of almost every touch point in real time customer feedback. Now, that requires the technology infrastructure in the first place, but it also requires integration into the culture, into the ways of working of the teams, into how people are paid effectively, into their performance plans to drive the mentality behind improving NPS, for example. And they've done an absolutely brilliant job, I think, of not only trying to build a culture around NPS in our organization, but doing it whilst installing all of the technology that's needed to give our teams almost a real-time view at any given moment of how our customers are feeling.
If you were to talk to and advise a marketing leader that might be struggling a bit to get their mojo back, what would your key pieces of advice be for them?
I think the three things I'd say, though, to sort of make that next step and try and come back out of that curve is, I kind of believe in the mentality of asking for forgiveness, not permission. I think that's a tricky one. It comes with risk, but I think in some organizations it's pretty difficult to drive the kind of change you need without that mentality. I think the second is about prioritization. From what we've experienced, it makes a difference. As I said, we're not there yet, but you've got to be ruthless with prioritization. It's really simplifying the focus and having fewer things that you do well. I think the final point is the processes. This is also a difficult one, but everything I've learned from the team is they're the bits that drain all the energy out of them. And if we want them to think in a thriver mentality, we need them to have that energy. And I think we often hear, I've said it myself, that's kind of outside of our sphere of influence though. But it shouldn't be. Buddy up with other parts of the organization. You've got to go and try and attack those things and fix them, because without that, you can't release the energy in your team. And I think it becomes very difficult then to move anyone into a thriving space.
So creating the headspace and tackling things head on. Thank you so much for joining me today. It was lovely to have you.